Hi. So, this is the Darkening Age, part 2. Hey, it's kind of like in more ways than one on account of the civilization collapse. No, that's silly. It's utterly silly. Unless we're talking about the Bronze Age, then that's cynical. No, I think we'll be alright. Does that mean I'm an optimist or a fool? A magician. I'm willing it so. Just not very good at it, so don't blame me for all the problems in the world. Anyway, if you want to start at part 1, that's the playlist for the Darkening Age. And I want you to be able to see the emotional support demon. So this is B-sides. Which means you heard that. Well, maybe I'll quiet it down. That was very loud. Yeah, so no editing, except for that. That's the one exception. Hopefully I'll remember to quiet that down, because that was pretty loud. Okay. Are we good? Are we ready to go? Yes. So the destroyers came from out of the desert, yes. The Christians, the early Christians, the ones that everybody looks up to. Oh, my church is so, if only we were like the early Christians. Oh, the ones who tore Hestia limb from limb with their bare hands. Oh, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Is that her name? Not Hestia. Is that her name? Fuck it, I don't know. The librarian. Probably not. So this is what we're doing here. Palmyra must have been expecting them for years. Marauding bands of bearded, black-robed zealots, armed with little more than stones, iron bars, and an iron sense of righteousness, had been terrorizing the east of the Roman Empire. Their attacks were primitive, thuggish, and very effective. These men moved in packs. You're not going to make me like the terrorist early Christians, are you? Fuck, I hope not. You better make Hypatia a very sympathetic character so that we'll all agree that these are the bad guys we're talking about. It's already, you're primitives? Oh, who's talking? Oh, someone who kisses the ass of the Roman Empire. What? Why are we reading from the perspective of... the fuck? Alright, continuing. Their targets were the temples and the... I'm not into that aspect. So, okay, if I just think of it as the Portuguese landing in India and destroying Hindu temples, yes, they are the bad guys. The thuggish zealots. Got it. Click. They were still in the image of... A lot of people are in the image of those folks, aren't they? Were they the first ones? They were the first ones. Fuck. They must have been imitating somebody. Okay, yes. When they descended, they utter destruction. Later in swarms of 500. What? Their attacks were primitive, thuggish, and very effective. These men moved in packs, later in swarms of as many as 500, and when they descended, utter destruction followed. Their targets were the temples, and the attacks could be astonishingly swift. Great stone columns that had stood for... Remember when Carl Jung met the Desert Father? What was he... I forget the name, the word that they use for those guys. And I'm not going to point to the corner because this is B-sides. No work for Editor Edward. I've already given him too much work with that whole coughing fit. Their targets were the temples, and the attacks could be astonishingly swift. Great stone columns that had stood for centuries collapsed in an afternoon. Statues that had stood for half a millennium had their faces mutilated in a moment. Temples that had seen the rise of the Roman Empire fell in a single day. This was violent work, but it was by no means solemn. The zealots roared with laughter as they smashed the evil, idolatrous statues. There was in the Protestant Reformation, they got into this spirit a little bit too. Though Martin Luther was like, down now, don't smash the statues. I mean, I get why you smash the statues. The Bible said you should smash the statues, but I don't think so. Because if you smash the statues, then people think you're an asshole. And we don't want people to think we're assholes because we want them to leave the church and join us. So, from a Machiavellian point of view, you shouldn't smash the idols. But from a Christian point of view, then, obviously you should smash the idols. That's what Christians do, right? What are we talking about? No, I mean back then, and sometimes now. Feel free to reinvent yourself, Christians. I mean, the ones who haven't already or haven't inherited it. Reinvent it again. It needs to be reinvented again. I mean, the Episcopals are all right. Never mind. Chance appeared, immortalizing this current Pope is all right. He seems cool. I mean, anyway, immortalizing these glorious moments. I mean, when you're up against the devil, then it's like, oh, the guy who's arguing with the devil, I'm on his side. If you have to pick sides, if there's oh wait, you see in regular A sides, a thing pops up when I do that, but we're not doing A sides today. Let's just read. Chance appeared, immortalizing these glorious moments. Quote, those shameful things, end quote, sang pilgrims proudly. Quote, the, quote, demons and idols, 3 dots, our good Savior trampled down altogether, end quote. Zealotry rarely makes for good poetry. In this atmosphere, Palmyra's Temple of Athena was an obvious target. The handsome building was an unapologetic celebration of all the believers loathed, a monumental rebuke to monotheism. Go through its great doors, and it would have taken your eyes a moment after the brightness of a Syrian sun. Is that where we are? To adjust to the cool gloom within. As they did, you might have noticed that the air was heavy with the smoky tang of incense. I'll take some smoky tang, please. That orange powdery soft drink. Not very soft drink. You remember anybody? Is it still a thing? What? The tang of incense. Yes. Or perhaps that what little light there was came... or perhaps that what little light there was came from a scatter of lamps left by the faithful. No, let's do that again. Or perhaps of what little light there was... I don't... The first time I read it, when I genuinely didn't know how it was going to continue the sentence. Sometimes when you're... Never mind. Look up, and in their flickering glow, you would have seen the great figure of Athena herself. The handsome, haughty profile of this statue might be far from Athena's native Athens, but it was instantly recognizable. With its straight Grecian nose, Grecian, its translucent marble skin, and the plump, slightly sulky mouth. The statue's size, it was far taller than any man, might also have impressed. Though perhaps even more admirable than the physical scale was the scale of the imperial infrastructure and ambition that had brought this object here. The statue echoed others that stood on the Athenian Acropolis, well over 1,000 miles away. This particular version had been made in a workshop hundreds of miles from Palmyra, then transported here at considerable difficulty and expense to create a little island of Greco-Roman culture by the sands of the Syrian desert. Did they notice this, the destroyers, as they entered? It's like reading about the destruction of the Harkonnen capital of Arakeen from the perspective of the Harkonnens. No. I don't know. I know how other people read this, or they're going to be like, gosh, it's been stupid since the beginning. It's stupid now, and between you and me, this sounds like the Muslims these days. At least the Christians aren't behaving like this now. But there's still some people who are, and it's like, yeah, it's a predictable way to approach this text. And so, I'm not feeling the impulse to be so predictable. So, yeah. We're going to read this from the point of view of the Zealots, just because I love an underdog. I mean, what? No, I don't know. Whatever. We'll just read it as we read it, and we'll just try on whatever hat we want to try on in any given moment. Fuck it. Where were we? This particular version had been made in a workshop hundreds of miles from Palmyra, then transported here at considerable difficulty and expense to create a little island of Greco-Roman culture by the sands of the Syrian desert. Oh, yeah, okay. Don't you love it when people go to another land? I believe that's called colonialism, right? The British built a little clock tower in the Himalayas, and oh, isn't it cute? It's like we'll call this Little Scotland. We'll call it Megalia. No, let's call it the Scotland of the East. Oh, well, what's the Scotland of the West like? Well, that's the place we colonize and we go in and we have our vacations and people dance around and wear silly costumes there, just like the tribal folks here. Yeah, we're obviously on the side of the British, right? Do they have a pretty librarian that gets torn to pieces that we can all cry about? Hopefully. Otherwise, everybody's going to hate the British Empire as much as they hate the Roman Empire. Oh, wait. What are we reading? Why are we reading it? What the fuck? Chris recommended it. Okay, Chris, I'm sorry. Chris isn't watching this, so it's okay. I can say all I want. And I'm not saying anything other than the shortened form of his first name. So, yeah. But we all know who I'm talking about. No, yeah, the Romans, yeah. Christians bad, Roman Empire good, right? What the fuck? What version of the Bible are you reading? Did they notice this, the destroyers, as they entered? Were they even fleeted? By the destroyers, they mean the early Christians, if you didn't realize that. Okay. Were they even fleetingly impressed by the sophistication of an empire that could quarry, sculpt, and then... yeah, the same guys that are like fasting and praying and beating themselves and hanging out in caves and reading the one like page of the scripture that they've got again and again and again, and looking up and, you know, wandering here and there and then finding others, and, you know, then they go into some marble building and go, I marvel at the sophistication. Oh, how many kilometers or miles must they have rolled this over tree trunks in order to get their little piece of Roman culture to Syria? What the fuck kind of moronic assumptions are being made here? And how did this win so many awards? What's wrong with the world? I mean, not that I'm siding with the assholes that would be like, you know, on the Christian side. I don't think I am. No. I just, you know, like the secular humanists need to find a better mascot, if they're to have a mascot, than ancient Rome. Because are you trying to lose the culture war or what? Sorry, what are we doing here? Did they notice the sophistication as they entered? Were they even fleetingly impressed by the sophistication of an empire that could quarry, sculpt, and transport marvel over such vast distances? Did they even for a moment admire the skill that could make a kissably soft-looking mouth out of hard marble? Maybe. Did they even for a second wonder at its beauty? It seems not. Because when the men entered the temple, they took a weapon and smashed the back of Athena's head with a single blow so hard that it decapitated the goddess. No, that was a statue, you silly fucker. The head fell to the floor, slicing off that nose. Crushing the once smooth cheeks, Athena's eyes, untouched, looked out over the now disfigured face. Okay. Over a now disfigured face. Mere decapitation wasn't enough. More blows fell, scalping Athena, striking the hell. Is the whole book going to be like this? My God. Am I supposed to be, like, sad about the statue of Athena? striking the helmet from the goddess's head. It's like, again, okay. Smashing it into pieces. Further blows followed. The statue fell from its pedestal, then the arms and shoulders. This is just the hook at the beginning to get you into the, yeah, I hate this. Like, what? The shoulders were chopped off. The body was left on its front in the dirt. The nearby altar was sliced off just above its base. I mean, yeah, it's not great. It's not great. It's probably the best the Christians have ever looked, though. I mean, when they were a bunch of wandering lunatics in the desert, you know, coming in and smashing the Roman Empire temples like that. It's kind of inspiring a little bit. I mean, again, Dune, Fremen, from the, you know, point of view of not having understood Dune Messiah, you know, like, still being like, yeah, Muad'dib, I'll follow him until I plummet on my, what do they call those blades made from the teeth of the worms? Never mind. Chris knife? I gotta be careful with this. Okay, what? Yeah, and then later when they're like fondly remember when we were crazy zealots and we used to tear down the empire and smash the pagan idols? Oh yes, Fred, those were the days. Let's do it again. How? Well, there's those people that it got inspired by us, and they're over there, and we're over here, and we can go smash. They don't have idols. In fact, they call our angel statues idols. Oh, well, anyway, nonetheless, we're going to have a real estate war with them. Oh, and we're going to fantasize that we're back in the old days, madmen in the desert. Oh, yeah, like I said, never mind, what am I talking about? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter all that much. I just think that my bias is not the same as the author of this book. The body was left on its front in the dirt. The nearby altar was sliced off just above its base. Like if this were a human, like a living person, they hit the back of an actual. See, I'm doing it again. This is how it got ripped the first time. It's like it gets hooked around the armrest, and then I want to dramatically raise my arm. Anyway, only then does it seem that these men, these Christians, if you didn't know, that's who we're talking about, felt satisfied that their work was done. They melted out once again into the desert. Behind them, the temple fell silent. The votive lamps, no longer tended, went out. On the floor, the head of Athena slowly started to be covered by the sands of the Syrian desert. The triumph of Christianity had begun, with triumph in quotes. It sounds like a triumph. I mean, if a triumph means like you won, right? Yeah. I guess if you're comparing it to how people these days imagine the triumph of Christianity, without the violence and stupidity and an ending that starts with an ending. Okay, so that was just the little hook at the beginning. Okay, introduction. Athens, AD 532. This is a little while after a lot of things. Quote, "We see the same stars, the sky is shared by all. The same world surrounds us. What does it matter what wisdom a person uses to seek for the truth?" End quote. The pagan author Symmachus. It's a fair point. Not a very popular point in 532 in Athens, though, or unless my knowledge of history is different than reality, which it probably is, because it's Swiss cheese at best. Quote, "That all superstition of pagans and heathens should be annihilated is what God wants, God commands, God proclaims." End quote. St. Augustine. Okay. Christians are the bad guys. But that doesn't automatically make, like, the Roman Empire the good guys. You know what I'm saying? Like destroying the Roman Empire isn't the worst thing that the Christians did. By a lot. In fact, it might be the best thing. I'm just saying. What are we reading here? Alright. That's what I'm saying. They destroyed civilization. Oh. They must have been a melancholy party. Okay, the sad pagans in 532 AD in Athens. Okay. In AD 532. So the first one was an an Athena temple in Syria that we were supposed to be crying about getting destroyed by early Christians. That'd be like a shopping mall, you know. I mean, these days, you know what I mean? Like yeah, bunch of like if someone built, you know, I don't know, whatever. Okay. In AD 532, a band of 7 men set out from Athens, taking with them little but works of philosophy. All were members of what had once been the most famous of Greece's philosophical schools, the Academy. The Academy's philosophers proudly traced their history back in an unbroken line, a golden chain, as they called it, to Plato himself, almost 1,000 years before. Now that chain was about to be broken in the most dramatic way possible. These men were abandoning not just their school, but the Roman Empire itself. Athens, the same thing happened when the Muslims came in India and got rid of Buddhism, and the were Buddhists that got the scriptures up to Tibet and then out into China and into Japan, and so we still have Vajrayana Buddhism. Basically the same. I mean, not just the spirit, but historically, the bearded zealots from the desert in the name of the one God smashing statues, as Moses said to. You know, it's the same tradition. That whole Abrahamic thing. How to deal with these Abrahamics, right? It's weird how the whole thing with Hagar and all that's written is it specifically is like, no, Ishmael is going to go behave badly and then the rest of the world is going to suffer. But then the way it's framed by the Christians who went out and did all that stuff first and then stood back and was like, oh, those people are doing exactly the same thing we did a few centuries ago. Isn't it horrible? They've got a few punctuation marks different than we do, you know, whatever. Whatever. Isaac, Ishmael, it's all the same. Or is it? I don't know, whatever. You can think what you like. I'm not thinking, and I'm not proclaiming anything. I'm just kind of like talking. Just putting stuff out there and going, you know. Okay, the golden chain, as they called it, to Plato himself 1,000 years before. Now that chain was about to be... Yeah, we read this already. Athens, the city that had seen the birth of Western philosophy, was now no longer a place for philosophers. Their leader, Damascius, must have been some comfort to them as they set out on this trip into the unknown. By the standards of the time, he was old, elderly even. Almost 70 when their journey began, but he was formidable. Damascius was a brilliant, densely subtle thinker who peppered his writings with mathematical similes. That sounds like a cool guy. And he did not suffer fools gladly. An acerbic who's who he wrote on his fellow philosophers is full of crushing comments on anyone whose intelligence or courage he considered wanting. In life, he could be as immoderate as in his writings. He had once almost drowned in a river when, too impatient for a boatman to take him across, he had decided to swim instead and nearly been swept away. Many of Damascius's greatest risks were run in the service of his beloved philosophy. He had already sheltered a wanted philosopher in his own home, embarked on perilous 1,000-mile journeys into the unknown, and braved the risk of torture and arrest himself. No man, he felt, should do any less. Quote, men tend to bestow the name of virtue on a life of inactivity, end quote. He once wrote with scorn, quote, but I do not agree, . The learned who sit in their corner and philosophize at length in a grand manner about justice and moderation utterly disgrace themselves if they are compelled to take some action, end quote. This was no time for a philosopher to be philosophical. Quote, the tyrant, end quote, as the philosophers put it, was in charge and had many alarming habits. Oh, is there a footnote? Oh, I have to flip to the end to get to learn about the footnotes? Why? Footnote number 3. How are they? Bibliography? Notes, footnotes. Oh, notes. Okay. Oh, there's just like a Augustine City of God. These observations and indeed this paragraph are indebted to gross passing. Okay, never mind the footnotes. The tyrant. Who's the tyrant? You mean Caesar? Whatever Caesar there was at that time? Or Jesus? What are we talking about? As the philosophers put it, was in charge and had many alarming habits. In Damascus's own time, houses were entered and searched for books and objects deemed unacceptable. If any were found, they would be removed and burned in triumphant bonfires in town squares. Okay, yeah, the Christians are not the good guys, but still. Discussion of religious matters in public had been branded a, quote, damnable audacity, end quote, and forbidden by law. Anyone who made sacrifices to the old gods could, the law said, be executed. Across the empire, ancient and beautiful temples had been attacked, their roofs stripped, their treasures melted down, their statues smashed. To ensure that their rules were kept, the government started to employ spies, officials, and informers to report back on what went on in the streets and marketplaces of cities and behind closed doors in private homes. As one influential Christian speaker put it, his congregation should hunt down sinners and drive them into the way of salvation as relentlessly as a hunter pursues his prey into nets. These guys are netting. Yeah, sorry, that's not related. I mean, related, obviously, but not very directly. It's roundabout relation. Very distant. Because the Book of Revelation and the whole American evangelists, like, oh, I mean, they were doing it in Britain first. The whole, like, oh, Jesus will come back as soon as we get all those people over there and start a war, and stupid. Yeah, it's again okay. The consequences of deviation from the rules could be severe, and philosophy had become a dangerous pursuit. Damascus, his own brother, had been arrested and tortured to make him reveal the names of other philosophers, but had, as Damascus recorded with pride, quote, received in silence and with fortitude the many blows of the rod that landed on his back. Sorry. And, quote, others in Damascus's circle of philosophers had been tortured, hung up by the wrists until they gave away the names of their fellow scholars. A fellow philosopher had, some years before, been flayed alive. Another had been beaten before a judge until the blood flowed down his back. Are we going to talk about all the people that the Romans tortured in similar and worse ways for even dumber things? I mean, maybe not even dumber things, I guess, But yeah, like saying, fuck Caesar. Okay, hang him by his wrists and flail him and beat him and let the blood drip down and, all right, well, the Christians took over. Well, what are they doing? Well, they're taking the philosophers and doing that, giving them the Roman Empire treatment. Doing to them what the Romans did, You know what I mean? Like when you only cherry pick parts of the story to try to swell people's emotions of hatred and animosity or sadness or get everybody focused on how bad those guys are by ignoring how bad these guys are and making these guys the victim of those guys when everybody's been the victim of everybody at various points. The savage tyrant was Christianity. All right, yeah, I figured that was kind of predictable. I was wondering. So the savage tyrant or whatever. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it was their turn to be the savage tyrant. I mean, it's a kind of like growth cycle of a movement that gets too much steam, and it's like you have to wonder. I mean, you don't have to, but yeah, I don't know. When something becomes too when something that just kind of develops or arises out of a combination of common sense and special interests, and greed, and everybody wanting to maintain their piece of the pie and their fortunes and their standings in the society, and then it evolves into this sort of corrupt, bureaucratic thing, and then someone comes along with a wild idea of, hey, this is fucked, let's completely redo the whole thing, and then that comes in the form of Christianity or communism or whatever it is that makes the bearded people go in and smash the, and then, if they succeed, then it turns into a tyranny, much like Catholicism or Stalinism or whatever, And then what? I don't know. We're still watching the evolution of these phenomena. So, yeah, it can either turn into what? I don't know. We're still watching. I don't think we're going to get any solid answers to that question within any of our lifetimes. I mean, people who are alive at the same time as me. And I don't think there's an example old enough to be able to point at and say with any conviction. Like sometimes it becomes, for sure, it becomes after the tyranny phase, it becomes the encrusted bureaucratic common sense, like, okay, well, let's make the best of this, incremental change kind of thing, and then vote on it, and, and then, and then it's just sort of like, right? And then try to put in safeguards to make sure that other people can't come in and do the same thing we did when we established ourselves thousands of years ago. So no new ideas. You better not have any new ideas. Oh, there's a wild-eyed man with a beard coming. Oh, shit. Oh, that looks like my shadow self, Carl Jung. So what do? Hug it? I don't know if that'll work. If that'll, co-opt it. We've all seen Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon, right? He didn't have a beard, though. At least not in the movie. St. Francis. Whatever. I don't know. Okay, so we got some wheels turning. We got some thoughts happening. We got some random, spontaneous, like, okay, what's your point and why? And okay, all right. It just seems like obviously this isn't written for or by pagans, but for or by secular humanist Democrats. You know what I mean? Atheists, agnostic atheists, or just atheists to talk about when civilization used to be good. Remember the Roman Empire was so good, wasn't it? Oh, you know what fucked it up? Fucking stupid ass Christianity. Obviously it has its present. I'm saying that's what they're saying, and I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying that it's tired. It's tired. But yeah, that's what we're reading, because that's why it's B-sides, because this isn't actually something that I think that we should read. This is something that Chris thinks that we should read. So we're going to read it. We're going to read it because Chris is a valuable person in our lives. By we, I mean me, So that's what's happening. So stay tuned for next time. We're only doing this every 5 episodes of A-sides. We do 1 B-sides. So when we get to the end of the first quinary, when we get to 5 more Chicken Philosophy episodes, and we'll do the Lincoln. Lincoln is this one. So, Team of Rivals. You can click subscribe down there if you want to hear me read aloud and talk shit about Team of Rivals and Darkening Age alternately. Once every week and a half or 2, whatever, it depends. Alright, so on the big schedule, next up is going to be, I believe, TP Taka over on Buddhist Books Podcast. Thank you for tuning in today for the Darkening Age on Chicken Philosophy B-Sides, and have a good day. Have a good weekend. It's Sunday for me. And it's probably Sunday for you, but you're probably not seeing this on Sunday. I mean, you might be. I suppose there's a 1 in 7 chance. Didn't do a beverage today. This is our beverage. This is full of filtered water, so it's not like I don't just buy water and then just drink it and then throw the bottle away. I buy water, drink it, and then fill it up again. And then eventually I go, ew! And then I clean the bacteria off the mouth of the bottle, and I keep on doing it. I keep on doing it. Never mind. Anyway, all right, that's it. That's all out of me. And no editing except for that one big noise at the beginning. And all right, that's it. Peace out. Until next time.